Let's just call it jack stand math. Today, I've got my newly completed 3D printed skid steer. This is a 8.5 scale, mainly 3D printed skid steer, and I'm having a blast with this. Now, Matt from the Scale Builders Guild, him and Turks and Jerps, they decided they were going to build these things, and it sounded like too much fun. And while I won't be going and joining them playing around in the tiny village, I wanted to build one the same. So here it is, and it's done, it's running. It's not exactly detailed, but we're gonna do the natural weathering method on this thing, and I'm just going to keep driving it. As you can see, it's already dusty and dirty because I've been having fun with this thing already. Now, as I mentioned, this is mainly 3D printed, and this came from the website YouMagine, and on there, this project is available from a designer named AN3DRC, and he's got this tracked skid steer model, 8.5 scale. And it's a beautifully designed, well thought through, included instructions, lots of options and details, as well as community mods that have been added to it also. So today I want to run you quickly through some of the things that I did. He has a beautifully detailed set of instructions that will take you through exactly how to put it all together. So we're not going to go through those details, but I want to show you around this model here and show you a couple of the things that I've added, which you may be able to see sitting in the center. So this project is truly mainly 3D printed. The things that you will need to buy are these linear actuators that handle the tilting of the bucket and the lifting of the lift arm itself, as well as the motor and transmission assembly that goes in the base of this. Now I say transmission assembly. I'm using one of the modified versions of this build that utilizes a worm drive gear set in the lower part of the chassis. It actually makes the assembly quite a bit easier in my opinion compared to looking at the instructions for the originally designed setup, which uses printed pulleys and belts, lots of bearings, but it does use some 540 motors. These right angle motors that I'm using in here are a smaller diameter, definitely going to be less torquey, but overall this thing has been doing pretty well. So the modified path that I decided to go with does not seem to have any downsides as far as the performance goes that I've noticed so far. Printing this thing is a task. There's a lot of parts to it, lots of detail and just individual items with multiple colors. Of course, you don't have to do that, but you will at least have to use two materials as the tracks on here are also printed out of TPU. So you'll print the tracks out of TPU, you can print the rest out of whatever you want. I have a mixture of ABS glass fiber that I've used for the black parts here, and then PETG high flow for just about everything else. And everything came out beautifully. I printed everything on this on my Bamboo H2D, which has got a large build plate, but he has settings or parts set up so that you can print this on any printer down to 180 millimeter bed. So just about any printer on the market currently should be able to print this entire thing. There's just a couple of modified parts if you do have one of those smaller beds that you may have to piece together, specifically like these long lift arms. You do it in like two halves and they join together. Now, normal construction equipment is 14th scale. This 8.5, so it doesn't exactly fit next to the ones that you see commercially available all that often. But I do love the larger scale of this. I think that it's fantastic. I like just what it offers at that. To run this, it's a little bit different than a typical RC. Now, the right angle motors that I used have the motors attached, but if you went with the standard setup that he uses, it uses a regular 540 brushed motor. So you'll need an ESC for each of those, regardless of what design you decide to go with. And then you need two more ESCs, one that will run the pair of lifting arms, and then one that will run the pair of tilting rams. So 4 ESCs total, no servos, because the steering is just done with the mixing of the tracks, and you use the lift arms just like a regular ESC would, up or down, basically the same as forward and reverse. You do need to make sure that the ESCs that you choose are a forward instant reverse setup. No break in the middle, otherwise it'd be pretty annoying to use. When you download his files, there's a big bill of materials as far as everything that you need beyond the 3D printed stuff, as far as like hardware, bearings, the electronics themselves, including links to where you can find these very specific RAMs. I got the RAMs off of AliExpress, which is where he linked them to, because you do want to make sure that you get the exact correct length as he specs. Otherwise, your bucket may not go to a proper length, or may always be tilted too far down, or you may not be able to get your lift arm far enough down to actually touch the ground. Things like that. So making sure that you get the items that he spec'd is important. There are some areas where you can differ, such as the ESCs. Now, he spec'd some very tiny ESCs that you can use for the lift arms and the tilt arms because they don't pull a lot of juice. I didn't see that when I was initially ordering from AliExpress, so I didn't order them from there, which is where they were the easiest available. So I just used 4 1060 ESCs. They all fit in the chassis pretty well. It wasn't that big of a deal. You may have a bunch of like takeout stock ESCs from crawlers and things like that, and those are a perfect fit for a truck like this, or truck, tractor, tracked vehicle, skid, whatever you want to call this thing. Now, I did all of the wiring on this on a Friday night live stream. So if you wanted to go see exactly as I did, as I went through the entire final portion assembly of this, you can do that. I'll link to that live stream below. It's a long one because it was a lot of work. Now, when this vehicle is completed, there is some access through the rear door, as a real skid steer would have access to the diesel engine in the back. Here you can just see those 2 electric motors that run the right angle drives. As far as the battery goes, you access that under the cab. It tilts up out of the way. Inside this thing is a bit of a mess. There is a lot of wires. You got a lot of stuff to get all tied together and in there. I've got a 3600 milliamp Gens Ace Adventure Pack in there to power it, a 3S unit, which runs for a very, very long time. I have not been able to kill a full battery yet after like a few hours of total runtime already. So that's been pretty impressive. It's super easy to access the battery. Nothing about this thing is much of a pain or, an inconvenience. It's very easy. Now you do see this little pigtail here, and that is for my Iron Quad Explorer FPV system. As you can see inside there, I've got a platform with a gimbal, and that system is a head tracking FPV system. So this is from Iron Quad, and their Explorer, it's a ready to run plug and play type unit. It's got the goggles and the unit, everything, the VTX, the whole deal. So you set it up, and now you can just kind of look around like you're sitting in a skid steer. It's kind of fun. I was sitting in the backyard playing in the gravel with this thing like a little kid, just giggling along. I previously had this system in my Vanquish H10 Optic, and that's a blast as well. And it's a pretty easy swap to take it from that and put it into here. I may make it even easier down the road so I can kind of quick swap it from one vehicle to the next, just because every once in a while, that is just a fun little bonus thing to do while you're playing with your vehicle. The designer of this recommends that you use a stick radio, and he links to an inexpensive FlySky radio that you can get for like 59 bucks, and that will do exactly what is needed on this. I decided to go with a different radio from FlySky, and it's on the way currently. So in the meantime, I hooked this thing up to one of my regular radios. This is my Futaba 10PX, an overkill radio for this type of application, but it does have pre-made tank mixing built into it. So it does the job pretty easily, and it does feel pretty natural, but the controls for the lift and bucket are just not quite optimal. So I am looking forward to getting that FlySky here so I can get it swapped in and have that stick control for it so I can more easily control both the lift and tilt at the same time. But right now, big old rock stuck in the tracks. But currently it is pretty easy to drive this thing with this radio. My only complaint is that the lift arms are a little bit slow. I do wish that that was faster. That's really my only complaint though. And for what this project has been, both fun to build and what has the illusion of an affordable project. Let's get into that part. So you have an basically all 3D printed vehicle. How expensive could it be to build this? Well, let me break down what my expenses were. Now, these files are available for $27 on YouMagine. A deal for how much design work, how good the design work is, the quality of the instructions, everything about it. 27 bucks for what you get is a steal. Can't say enough the value that I think that offers. Now, the rest of the parts needed for this. I'm going to tell you basically what my costs are and then what some of the differences, are, like where you could have saved some money. Now, I paid $53.96 for the pair of the worm drive setups. I don't know if going the other route would be any cheaper with the number of belts and bearings you would need to complete that setup. It may be pretty close to a wash. Then filament. I spent $81.92, but that's for complete rolls. I bought a new roll of TPU, a new roll of white and yellow and orange PETG high flow, and I already had the ABS glass fiber. So that I didn't include. So, take a little bit of leeway into that. And then in the end, you do have nearly full rolls of filament, or at least half of a roll of everything left. So, you're not using all of that money for this project. Maybe you already have filaments at home that you can use and that money doesn't count. Guy math. Then for hardware, you do need a mix of hardware. Some M4, some M5, some M3, and some M2 hardware. Now, for the M4 and M5 hardware, as well as the bearings that are needed for this, like for all of these tracks, there's a number of bearings that are required. I spent $68.91 for the M4, the M5, and the bearings that I needed. I already had the M3 and the M2. Maybe you do as well, or maybe you're going to have to add a little bit for that. Now, the linear actuators, you need 4 of them, and in total, that cost me with shipping from AliExpress $179.12. That's an expensive part. Then the ESCs. Now, like I said, I didn't follow his bill of materials when it showed some very inexpensive ESCs that you can use for the actuators, which would have saved me a lot of money because I think you can get the pair of ESCs for like 10 bucks, where I ended up using 1060s, which if you look at the price on AMain, I think are $29. So if you add up what my costs were of $120, you could probably cut that way down. And then the radio. Now you could buy a $59 stick radio that comes with a receiver and you would get everything done. I'm not including the cost of a 10PX. That seems excessive. I'm also not including the cost of the nicer FlySky radio that I chose to get for this project. So I'm just going to include the cost of the receiver that I used for now, which is a $39 2106 GF Futaba receiver in there. Now, if you take and add up all of the numbers that I had, including the overly expensive ESCs, I have $570.86 in this thing, which was a number that is higher than I thought. But the ESCs that I used were takeout ESCs. So that number doesn't count. The receiver, that doesn't really count either. I don't think that matters. The hardware, I used a small amount of it, and the rest of it I'll keep. Having hardware around, I don't feel like that should count either. So in the end, I would call this more like a $300 vehicle. Seem fair? And with all of that, I'm completely ignoring the cost of this FPV system, because that would double everything I just told you. So to wrap this whole thing up, I had a blast building this. I love driving it, and I'm definitely going to have to bring it to Proline by the Fire. It cuts in through some, decent sized pea gravel, better than I would have expected. If you had some just nice sand, I think you'd be even better off. I'm considering doing some home landscaping just to have more fun with this. So I'm gonna wrap this video up with a little bit of driving footage. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already, and if you're interested in channel membership where you get a chance to see videos like this early, you can find the information for that in the description below. You'll also find links to everything we talked about today, and hopefully, maybe you're interested in building one of these as well. It's an unreasonable amount of fun. But with that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.